This wasn't just an invasion movie. It was when Hollywood blew up landmarks and audiences cheered. 20 shocking facts, fast, miniature cities, a 12th White House, vertical fire, a Super Bowl trailer that weaponized hype, Pentagon cold feet, a title war won by a speech, Apple's laptop hero, fake FA-18s, a mid-flight brainstorm, Goldblum, Smith improv, a desert stench, Wendover as Area 51, a scrapped biplane finale, Unity scenes censored, 96 box office thunder, CGI's takeover, the ID4 nickname, a White House screening, spin-off books and comics, and NASA's Martian tease. Ready to have your memories rebooted? Let's dive into the 20 weirdest things you didn't know and why they still spark today for this cult classic. Fact 1. The miniature apocalypse. Before computers ruled disaster, this movie built the end of the world with its hands. City blocks stood on sound stages like dollhouse graveyards. Crews wired buildings with tiny chargers, then rolled cameras at high speed so flames felt heavy and real. A 12-foot White House vaporized in one glorious take. Street canyons were tipped vertical so fire would climb like a living creature. Miniature FA-18s shredded alien saucers under banks of lights that mimicked midday sun. Smoke was piped, fans roared, and gravity did half the acting. Every shot took multiple passes. Dust, debris, sparks, then the hero element, stack the layers, and boom. Cinematic weight. The result won the 1997 Visual Effects Oscar and closed the practical era playbook with a bang. Pixels would take over soon, but first, practical magic lit the fuse. And the next fact makes it burn hotter. Fact 2. The 12-foot White House and the climbing fire. The White House didn't burn. A towering miniature did. Effects artists built a 12-foot replica packed with delicate trusses, glass panes, and hidden squibs, then rolled high-speed cameras as a carefully timed charge turned it to dust. To make downtown fire behave like a creature, they mounted city street models vertically so the flames would race up through windows and alleys, letting gravity paint the shot. Real smoke, practical embers, and layered passes created the feeling of weight that CGI rarely nails. You're not watching pixels, you're seeing physics, pressure, heat, and debris traveling the only way they can. That's why the explosion still shocks in HD. Edges fray, light scatters, shadows smear, and your brain trusts it. One mythic moment born from engineering and patience. Next up, the Super Bowl ambush that turned a July release into a national event overnight. Fact 3. The Super Bowl trailer that rewired hype. Before release day, the movie won the summer during football's biggest night. Fox dropped a thunderclap spot at Super Bowl XEX, showing the White House obliterated in one breathless shot. No cast, no plot dump, just a national landmark erased between chips and commercials. The ad weaponized curiosity. What is this? When does it hit? And why did that look so real? Newspapers replayed frames like game tape. Morning shows looped the blast, and ID4 became a shorthand you couldn't escape. Studios had sold movies on stars. This sold a feeling, shock. It turned July into an appointment, not a date, and taught Hollywood that 30 seconds in the big game could buy months of free headlines.
Then the phone
One
calls
trailer
started.
didn't tease the film, it was the event. Next, when the Pentagon saw Area 51, the playbook changed again for everyone watching. Fact 4. Pentagon
alien ship.
Area 51. At first,
Many
the Pentagon
called the
was
police
in.
to report
Jet
a
access,
UFO
technical
because it was
advisors,
believable.
the credibility
The police
that
had
comes
no
with
idea
real
what was
hardware.
going on,
Then the script
so
said
they
2
showed up.
words.
Some
Area
were scared,
51.
others were
Military
just
liaisons
curious.
asked
That
for
explosion
every
Pullman's
UFO
has its own
secret-based
crazy
reference
story,
to be
too.
stripped out
Number
before
20.
they'd cooperate.
We will-
Roland Emmerich and Dean Devlin
Night
refused.
Speech
Without
was
the
too
conspiracy
cheesy
backbone,
and nearly
there was
removed
no
it entirely
movie.
from the final
Overnight,
cut.
the support
The same
evaporated.
speech
No
that gives
Air Force
millions of people
sets, no
goosebumps
stock
every July
footage,
4th
no
was
loner
literally one
FA-18s.
executive
The team
decision
pivoted,
away from
privately
never
owned
existing.
aircraft dressed
Roland
with
Emmerich
improvised
had to fight tooth
insignia,
and nail
retired
to keep
crews
what
for
became one of the most
authenticity,
quoted movie
miniatures,
speeches
and
in
motion
history.
control for the
Imagine
dogfights.
watching Independence
Locations
Day
doubled
without
for
that
bases,
moment.
and the
The entire
production
emotional
kept the
core
mythology
would have been ripped
intact.
out.
Ironically,
The executive's
losing official
reasoning
help
was that
freed the
audiences
film
would
to be
find the
bolder and
patriotic
made the
rallying
eventual
cry too
government
over the
knows
top
more
and
vibe
unrealistic for a
feel
modern
sharper. The
blockbuster.
sky
They
still
wanted
burned,
something
the
more
jets
Once
still
they found
roared,
out
and the
it was
next
just a
fight
movie
wasn't with
test,
the
they
military at
relaxed.
all. It
A
was
few
over the
even
film's
laughed.
name. Fact
The
5,
film
the
crew got
title
a
war.
warning to
They
give
had to
people a
win
heads up. Even
EN,
before the cameras
140
rolled,
words,
believing
Fox
something
flirted
was
with a
coming
blunter
from
title,
above.
Doomsday,
The United-
but Emmerich and Devlin wanted Independence Day. Problem: another
They
studio
promised to
controlled the
supply real
name, and
costumes,
licensing
vehicles, and
wasn't
other
cheap,
items
so
to make
they
everything
weaponized
look true
story.
to
They
life.
filmed the president's
felt that
speech
Area
early,
51
Bill Pullman declaring that July 4th would be more
seemed
than an
like the
American
perfect
holiday,
deal.
then screened
Then
it
came
for
a prop move
executives.
every
The
part of the
room
film
flipped.
about
The
Area
title wasn't
51.
marketing, it was the
speech
movie's
became
spine.
so iconic
While lawyers
that it's been
wrangled, the
referenced in
campaign
everything from
used a
political
temporary
campaigns
banner,
to other movies,
ID4,
proving
splashed
that
across
sometimes the
posters and
suits in
teasers
boardrooms
like a
have
battle
absolutely
standard.
no
It
idea
stuck
what
in the
audiences
culture,
actually
buying
want.
time and
But the
building
studio's
mystique. When the
questionable
rights
judgment
finally
didn't
cleared,
stop
the
with
film
presidential
marched into
speeches.
theaters
Their
under its
marketing
rightful
stunts
banner.
would
Date,
soon
theme,
create
and rallying
real-world
cry
chaos.
fused. Not a
A glowing
disaster flick
helicopter
about
being
ending,
used for
a
night
holiday
shots
myth
caused over
about fighting back,
150
and the
California
nickname
residents
never died.
to call
To
police
fans,
reporting
it's still
actual alien
ID4.
activity.
Short, sharp,
The prop was
unforgettable
so
for a
realistic
generation
that it
of
triggered
moviegoers
genuine mass
everywhere.
hysteria.
Fact 6. Apple's laptop that saved Earth EN 140
With people
words.
convinced
Product
they were
placement rarely
witnessing
becomes
first contact.
mythology, but this one
Police
did. The
departments
movie
were
turned a
flooded with
laptop
calls
into
as
a
panicked
lifeline,
citizens
a power
described
book,
seeing
popping
mysterious
open
lights
beside
moving through
alien
the sky.
tech, cursor blinking
The irony.
like a countdown.
A movie about
Apple
alien
seized the
invasion
moment with a
accidentally
cheeky
created a
tie-in,
real-life
the power
UFO
to
sighting
save the
that
world,
made local
and suddenly
news.
the computer on everyone's back-to-school list doubled as Earth's last hope. Was the science airtight? Not even close, but the image was irresistible. Human ingenuity distilled to a portable computer, smuggling a digital virus into a mothership. The cameo sold attitude more than capability,
It
and
was
it
where
worked.
all the mystery
News segments
lived,
replayed
and
the shot.
removing it would
Magazines
change the whole
circled the
feel of
logo.
the film.
Keyboard clicks
Once they
became part
refused,
of the
the
suspense
military
track. The
pulled out
upshot, a
completely.
single
They
product
didn't
shot,
give them
helped
the
define
costume
the
and
film's
props that were
personality.
promised.
Confident,
Even
playful,
without their
audacious.
support,
Next,
the
we lift the
filmmakers
lid
moved
on those
forward.
roaring
They
jets
made
you
their
remember.
uniforms,
And why not
built their
one
own
real
sets, and
FA-18
became
flew
one of the
for the
most
camera?
exciting-
Fact
That made it
7.
look
No
nothing like
real
conventional aircraft,
FA-18s, only
especially in the
masterful
dark
miniatures.
desert sky.
EN 140
And made the
words.
story
Those
just how
roaring
they-
Witnesses described
FA-18s,
it as
not
moving
one
in
was
ways
real.
that
The
defied
aerial
normal
war
flight
was built
and
from
emitting an
precision
eerie glow
miniatures,
that seemed
motion-controlled
otherworldly
camera
aliens were
passes,
attacking
and
Earth,
combustible
causing
gags
widespread
timed
panic
to the
across the
frame.
country.
Model jets
The
the
backlash
size of
was so
coffee
severe
tables rode
that Spain,
steel rigs
because of a
against
single
sky
brief shot
plates,
showing
then
an inversity,
disappeared in
that the
layers of
government tried
light,
to prevent their
smoke, and
entire
sparks.
population
To sell
story
speed at
about unity
scale,
against
shots
alien
ran
invaders
at high
became a
frame
major
rates,
diplomatic
exhaust
incident.
trails
The
thickened,
ban
camera
attempt
shakes
ultimately
were added
failed,
by hand,
but it showed how
wings
even
flexed
sci-fi
because the
blockbusters
models were
aren't
engineered
immune
to
to
bend,
real-world
letting
politics.
sunlight catch along the
scene in
fuselage
question
like it
showed the
does
Israeli
at
pilot
600
removing his
knots.
helmet
When
and
missiles
celebrating
hit,
alongside pilots from
pyrotechnicians
other nations,
walked tiny charges
symbolizing
across
global
foam
cooperation
skins, so
against the
panels
alien
peeled
threat.
back convincingly.
Lebanese
Only
censors
the crop
argued that
duster
showing
flew for
Israeli
real.
military
Everything
in a
else
positive
was
light
craftsmanship
violated their
stacked in
country's boycott
compositing
policies
bays.
against
That's
Israel.
why your brain
The
buys it.
controversy
The
sparked
physics are
heated debates
practical,
in
the
Parliament and
chaos
protests
is
from both
tactile,
sides,
and the shots were
some demanding the
sculpted,
ban,
not
while
simulated
others argued
today.
for
Fact
artistic
8.
freedom.
The mid-flight
Theater owners
brainstorm.
found themselves caught in the middle,
140
with some
words.
choosing to show
Before
the
the
film
explosions,
anyway.
there was a
Helicopter
question
was
at
equipped with powerful
30,000 feet.
searchlights
Do you believe
and
in
light patterns.
aliens? Roland Emmerich said yes, looked out of the window, and pictured cities
Local news
swallowed by
stations picked up the
shadows.
story,
By landing, a
interviewing
blueprint
confused
existed,
residents
massive
who were
ships,
convinced they'd
terror, a
witnessed
global
something
counterpunch on
extraterrestrial.
July 4th.
The
Back in the
production team
hotel,
had to
Emmerich and Dean Devlin locked the
public
door,
statements
hammered
explaining
through
the
pages,
situation.
and walked
But
into
many
Fox
witnesses
with a
remained
pitch,
skeptical,
an invasion movie
insisting
to
they'd seen
unite the
something
world
beyond
instead
human
of
technology.
scaring it into corners.
Before we
The
dive
speed
deep-
was insane. Momentum did the selling. Executives saw headlines, fireworks, and a speech that could shake
Sometimes
theaters. The
sticking to your
takeaway wasn't
vision
subtle.
means
Go
losing some
big,
help.
go
Only
global.
went
Keep
silent
it
after
human.
reading
A
the Area
flight
51
birthed a
sequences,
franchise, and a
refusing to take
scribble
calls
turned
or
into a
return emails.
ritual.
The
Next,
production
the
team
chaos
realized they'd
leaves the
struck a nerve
page.
when even
Improv,
fictional
timing,
references
and
to
two
the base
actors
caused
who
such
made
an
panic
extreme
sound
reaction.
like punchlines.
This forced them to
Goldblum and
rely-
Smith,
In this
riffing
case,
through
it
doom.
was the right
Fact
choice.
9.
One of
Goldblum
the
and
best
Smith
things about
turned panic into
Independence Day was the
punchlines.
back and
EN
forth. What many people
140
do not
words.
know
The script
is
gave
that
them a
many of those
roadmap.
lines
The
were
magic
never in the
came from
script at all.
detours. Jeff Goldblum's staccato mutters,
Their
half-formed
scenes were
equations,
full of
and
energy.
brow-furrowed
Funny,
asides
the
weren't
director
just
and
line
producers
readings,
later
they were
said that over
jazz.
half of
Will
his-
Smith matched him beat for beat,
Tying
tossing
the
dry
stolen
one-liners
alien
like
ship
flares players in a blackout, so tension never stalled. Put them together, and exposition turned conversational. Tech jargon
entirely
shrank
on
into
practical
human
effects
rhythm,
and
arguments
miniatures,
snapped like
which
ping pong,
ironically
and the
made
mission
the film
felt
look more
improvised,
spectacular
even when
than
the
if they'd
shots
used
were
real
locked.
military.
Judd Hirsch threaded through it all with
His
old-world
overreaction
needling
became a
that
story in
grounded the
itself,
chaos.
generating
Suddenly, an
conspiracy
end-of-days
theories about
plot
what they were
sounded
really
like
trying to
family
hide.
bickering on a
Their
road
loss
trip.
became
The
the
editors
effects
protected
team's
those
gain, leading to
cadences,
some of the
leaving
most
awkward
memorable
overlaps
destruction
and breaths
ever
that made
captured
scenes
on
feel
film.
alive. That looseness
Number
is why
14,
quotes stick
the
in your
White
head.
House
It
explosion.
wasn't just
That
dialogue,
jaw-dropping
it was
shot of the
chemistry,
White House getting
compressed.
obliterated
Next, when the
wasn't
desert
computer
stank, the
graphics.
movie stole
It was a
line.
meticulous.
Fact 10. What is that smell? The desert made the line, EN 140 words. Dragging the downed alien across Utah's Great Salt Lake Flats will Will Smith suddenly gagged and barked, "What is that smell?" It wasn't in the script. The stench, thousands of rotting brine shrimp baking in the sun, hit cast and crew like a wall. Smith's outburst was raw. The mic caught the breath before the punchline, and Roland Emmerich kept everything. That authenticity is why the moment lands. The swaggering hero is instantly human. The scene breathes, and the audience laughs without breaking stakes. Effects are planned. Discomfort isn't. You can see the wind tearing at costumes, squinting eyes, everyone trying not to puke between takes. The edit trims around chaos, but preserves the impulse, turning misery into meme. One spontaneous complaint became a quotable button on a brutal day. Next, the Air Force base that wasn't Wendover Airfield, standing in for classified ground. Fact 11, Wendover Airfield, the Air Force base that wasn't EN 140 words. Wendover Airfield, straddling the Utah-Nevada border, quietly played two roles at once. The look and logistics of military might when real bases were off limits. Its yawning runways, blast pens, and weathered hangars sold the illusion of El Toro and the film's secret Nevada operations, while production parked hardware, staged evacuations, and loaded extras without red tape. Camera angles carved scale. Low dolly runs made vintage concrete feel endless. Extras in fatigues stitched the scenes. With DoD support gone, Wendover gave the crew space to blow things up, control traffic, and keep long lines of vehicles moving on cue. Even the isolation helped the story. Haze and heat, mirage painted tactical distance for free. It's movie geography. You think California, then Nevada, you're seeing the same ghost base playing two parts. Next up, the alternate ending that almost landed with a biplane. Fact 12, the biplane finale that test audiences grounded EN 140 words. In the original cut, Russell Cass didn't join the FA-18 strike. He showed up in his battered crop duster, a biplane with a jury-rigged missile bolted under the wing. No helmet, no HUD, just a farm pilot aiming at a mothership. He volunteers for the suicide run when the nuke misfires, dives into the weapon's core, and saves the day with duct tape heroism. On paper, it sounded poetic, the town drunk in a flying relic redeeming himself. In practice, early audiences laughed at the mismatch of scale, toy plane versus doomsday ship, and the moment undercut the movie's thunder. Emmerich and Devlin reshot the climax, so Russell flies a captured FA-18, radioing, "I'm back," before the hit. Same sacrifice, bigger credibility, the lesson stuck. Keep the catharsis, fix the optics. Next, the unity message that some censors didn't want audiences to see back then. Fact 13. Unity scenes. Some censors cut EN 140 words. In some markets, the film's "we're all in this together" message hit a wall. In Lebanon, censors removed shots of Israelis and Arabs coordinating a counterattack and trimmed a brief Hebrew prayer, saying those moments could spark tensions. The explosions stayed, the cooperation didn't. For local audiences, a beat meant to land as relief arrived as a jump cut, and the radio montage felt thinner, less miraculous. It's a paradox. A blockbuster about unity was considered too hopeful in certain contexts. In the US, crowds cheered the same montage, proof that reception is shaped by politics as much as popcorn. The edit tells a story of its own. Movies don't travel unchanged. Culture edits them in transit. Friction between what artists intend and what gatekeepers allow made the film's world together fantasy even more widely debated. Next, the 1996 box office thunder that turned spectacle into history. Fact 14, box office thunder, EN 140 words. Audiences didn't just show up, they lined the block for weeks. The film exploded to roughly $817 million worldwide, the biggest global hit of 1996, and for the decade, second only to Jurassic Park. It played like an event, a July launch, a white-hot Super Bowl tease, and landmark-smashing footage that demanded a big screen. Families came for fireworks, teens came for swagger. Repeat viewings turned quotes into summer slang. Overseas, the Unity montage translated and spectacle traveled without subtitles. Critics split, but momentum snowballed. Weekday matinees packed, nighttime shows roared, and home video kept the aftershocks rolling. Will Smith vaulted from TV favorite to 4-quadrant closer. ID4 became a calendar word. More than a win, it reset expectations, proving a high-concept spectacle could unify crowds across age, language, and politics. Numbers fade. The memory of cheering in a full theater doesn't disappear. Fact 15, from models to mice, CGI takes the wheel, EN 140 words. 20 years later, the sequel arrived arrived with a
frames per
new
second
toolbox.
to capture
Instead of
every piece
pyro-packed
of debris in
miniatures
slow
and vertical
motion,
streets,
creating that
resurgence
iconic
leaned hard
fireball
on
that
digital
became one of
pipelines,
cinema's most
continent-sized
memorable
ships,
destruction
collapsing
sequences.
megastructures,
The crew held
swarms
their
of
breath
assets
as they watched
orchestrated
the
in
playback.
software. Volker Engel returned to oversee the mayhem, but the
Captured
craft
movie
had
magic,
shifted.
or
The
wasted
weight
months
once
of
baked
work
in
and
by
a fortune
high-speed
in one
cameras now
spectacular
lived in
failure.
simulation settings.
This wasn't
Fluid
the only time
solvers for
perfect
smoke,
timing would play a
rigid body
crucial role
wreckage,
in the
physically
film's most
based light.
powerful
The
moments.
upside,
Number
scale the
13,
1996 team
Bill
could
Pullman's
only dream
presidential
about. The
speech scene
downside,
was
a
filmed on
cleaner
actual
apocalypse
July
that some
4th,
fans felt in their
1996.
bones. You can spot
Nobody
the
planned
contrast
that.
in
The
side-by-side
scheduling just
viewings.
worked out that way.
1996
But it gave the
crackles
moment
with
an
particulate
authenticity
grit.
that money can't buy.
2016
Pullman
glides with
delivered
polished
those iconic
destruction.
lines
Both
about
are
independing the
feats.
president's
They just
speech
speak
to make
different
the holiday
dialects of
integral to the
spectacle.
plot.
Practical magic
studio's
passed the
concerns
torch
were
to
completely
pixels,
backwards.
and the franchise
The film's
became a
success
time
proved
capsule for
audiences
how Hollywood
worldwide.
learned to end the
Number
world
8.
twice, almost overnight. Fact
Mothership
16
was so enormous
ID4, the
that it kept
nickname that
crashing
outlived
every
the
computer
lawsuit,
system
EN
they tried to
140
use for
words.
animation.
ID4 began as a
In
workaround, not a
1995,
brand.
even the
While
most
lawyers
powerful
wrestled over the title
workstations couldn't handle
Independence
the
Day,
massive
Fox
polygonal
needed something
model.
bold for
The
posters
effects
and
team
TV
had to
spots.
redesign
Two
their
characters
approach,
did the job,
breaking the
I
ship
plus
into
D
dozens
plus
of
the
smaller
release date
sections that could be
7-4.
animated
It looked like a
separately
military
and composited
designation
together
and
later.
read like a
The
computer
irony
file
wasn't
name,
lost that a
perfect
movie
for a
about alien tech of
techno-patriotic
computer
invasion
technology.
movie. The shorthand
Number 7.
spread
Harry
fast.
bases
Trailers
and government
flashed it,
offices were
merch
actually
stamped it,
recycled sets from
newspapers
old
used
TV
it
shows
as if
and
it were the
movies,
real name.
simply repainted
Fans
and
adopted
redressed
it
to look
because it
brand
was
new.
quicker to say
The Area
and cooler
51
to wear.
hangar was
Even
originally
after
built
the
for a
rights
different
cleared,
sci-fi project,
ID4
while Pentagon
wouldn't die.
corridors had
It had
appeared in
already
previous
carved a place
political
in the
thrillers.
culture beside T2 and 007. The nickname turned marketing into mythology, proving a title can be a logo first, a word second. Next up, the film screens inside the actual White House before it blows up on screen. Fact 17. The White House screening. Before the White House explosion. EN 140 words. Before America watched DC vaporize, the movie played inside the real address. The production secured a pre-release screening at the White House for President Bill Clinton, staffers, and guests. A surreal premiere where the most famous house on Earth was about to be obliterated on screen. Imagine the walk through security, portraits on the walls, then the teaser's landmark shot, rolling in a room that has hosted world crises. Laughter hit first, then gasps at the blast. Then that speech that turns a holiday into a rallying cry. The moment doubled as cultural certification. If you can crack jokes about annihilating Pennsylvania Avenue inside 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue, you've made an American myth. It was marketing, symbolism, and audacity in one evening. And when the lights came up, July felt inevitable. Next, the canon didn't sleep. Tie-in
Independence
novels
Day's
and comics
July 4th
kept the
weekend
war
release
alive.
was
Fact
Build the
18.
mothership
The
for
universe
space
that kept
shots,
fighting
but the
between
file
films,
kept
EN
crashing.
140
The
words,
design was
between the
too large for their
1996
computers to
Raw and the
process in one go.
2016 sequel,
The
the
crew
war
had to
never
break the
slept on
mothership
screen.
into
It
smaller
migrated
pieces
to
to animate
shelves.
it.
Titans
Even
tie-in
the way the
novels
ship
kept the
appeared on
resistance
screen had to
breathing.
be
The
carefully
Silent
planned.
Zone dug into
The ship
Dr.
entrance was
Dajir
filmed
Okun
slowly
and
to show
Area
the audience
51
how
lore.
big the boat
War in
was.
the desert chased post-invasion
Became one of the most
skirmishes.
talked
Years
about
later,
scenes in the
Crucible
film.
bridged the gap
It
to
showed how
resurgence,
significant the
sketching
threat
the
was
Earth's
and
space
raised the
defense,
stakes.
new tech, and
Behind
older
the camera,
heroes
it
learning
showed
new
just how
roles.
far the team
Marvel's
had to
comic
go to bring
adaptation
something huge
remixed the
to life.
film into
Before
panels,
digital
letting the
effects
White
took
House
over
blast
Hollywood,
detonate
filmmakers
frame by
often used
frame,
small
while
models to create
one-shots
big
and
scenes.
specials
What many
sketched
people do
side
not know
missions
is that
and
the team used
aftermaths.
more model
Fans
work
treated
than
it
almost
like
any other film at
reconnaissance,
the time.
extra maps,
The movie
schematics,
used
and
over
whispered
150
backstories
miniature
to fill the
sets,
quiet
including
between
buildings, streets,
motherships.
and
The through
landmarks
line
like the
wasn't
Empire
canon for
State
trivia's
Building and the
sake.
White
It
House.
primed a new
Lapses
generation
and
for
medical
round
personnel
2.
stayed on
Story
standby
became
during
a
every
relay
alien
race,
scene.
passing the baton
Despite the
from
suffering
project to
involved,
project.
these
Next,
practical
why the
effects still look more
explosions still
convincing
feel
than
real.
many modern
Physics.
CG.
Fact
Each
19.
model was
Why it
carefully
feels
built
so
by
heavy.
hand
Physics
with a
over
great deal of
pixels.
detail.
EN
Some were as
140
small as a
words.
shoebox,
The shots hit your gut
and others
because
were
real
large
physics
enough to
are
walk
baked in.
around.
Effects crews
Instead of
over
using
cranked
only
cameras, so
computers, the crew
explosions
filmed
stretched
the
in
models
time,
blowing
letting
up in
debris
real time.
arc, tumble,
They used
and
fire,
settle. The
smoke,
brain's
and
cue
high-speed
for
cameras
mass.
to make
Practical
everything feel
blasts
big and
throw
real.
true sparks
These model
that cast light
explosions
on
were
miniatures,
filmed frame
smoke
by frame,
blooms,
then
shears,
added
and
into the movie.
cools instead
Even
of
today,
looping like
many
a
of the
texture.
explosions
Motion
hold up
control
better than newer
rigs
digital
repeated the
ones.
same
Final
camera move for
moment to
multiple
shine, and it
passes.
went out
Clean
with a
plate,
bang.
fire, debris, smoke, interactive light. Then composited them
What many
into
people do
one
not
punchy
realize
image.
is that the
Vertical
actor-
sets let flames
No, sir.
climb,
Just a
while
little
long
anxious to
lenses
get up there and whoop
compressed
ET's ass,
distance.
that's all.
Scale, red larger. Dust and paper were
Independence Day
fanned
was
through
known for its
alleys to
graphic
create
depiction of an
parallax.
alien
Tiny
takeover.
details
Even
drifted
before the
at
movie
different
came out, its
speeds,
ads
selling
were already
depth.
making
Shutter
noise.
angle and
The
motion
problem
blur
started with a
smeared
teaser ad
just
that
enough
aired on
to hide
Spanish television.
scenes. But
It
not
showed
wait.
some
You're not
scenes of
convinced by
alien ships,
accuracy. You're
screaming
convinced
people,
by
and cities being
behavior. That's
destroyed.
why these
What made
shots
it
still
different was that
command
the
a
ad
big
looked
screen.
like a real
Next,
news
the meteorite
broadcast.
headline
It had
that
news
made fiction
graphics,
feel
breaking
possible.
alerts, and
Fact
serious
20. The
music.
meteorite
And the TV
headline that
station did
blurred
not say
fiction
it was
and
a movie
news.
trailer
EN
right away.
140
Some
words.
people
Weeks
watching at
after the
home
movie
thought they were
detonated
seeing
July
real-
1996,
People called the news
headlines
centers to
echoed
ask
its
what was
premise.
going
A
on.
NASA team announced
the
possible
panic, the TV
microfossils
stations
in
had to
Martian
explain it was
meteorite
just an
ALH
ad.
84001. That night, President Bill Clinton addressed the nation from the White House lawn, calling it evidence that we are not alone might be more than fiction. For one electric news cycle, cinema and science overlapped. Talk shows replayed the cratered rock, newspapers printed
never
scanning
meant to trick
electron
anyone.
images
It
beside
was a
the
strong
exploding
ad that
White
worked
House,
too well.
and
The
ID4's
strange event
fantasy
proved
felt
one
like
thing, was
tomorrow's
already working
briefing.
before
Debate
the film
followed,
started.
contamination,
One of the most
geology,
remembered moments on
masquerading as
Independence
biology,
Day is
but the
the
timing
president's
was
speech in
uncanny.
which he
The film
stands
had
in front of
sold
the pilots,
unity against
talks
an
about
unthinkable
freedom,
other.
and
The
says that the
meteorite
4th of
sold
July will
curiosity,
no longer
wonder,
be
and a
just an
reason to
American
keep
holiday.
looking
The
up.
strange part
Even
is
after
not
later
just what he
studies
said.
cooled the
It
claim,
is when they
that
filmed
week
it.
changed
Boots
the
went
mood.
through a
The
lot
world
to
didn't
bring
just
those
watch
monsters to
aliens.
life.
It prepared to greet aliens. Credits rolled, and the skies stayed open.
Aliens
Big
seem
explosions
unstoppable.
aged.
This was so
The
convincing
heartbeat didn't.
that some
Behind
viewers assumed
landmark
Oakland
fireballs
inspiration.
were handmade
Number
physics.
2.
A title won by a speech, a Pentagon
You're the fifth
walkout, a
legendary
Super
saint.
Bowl ambush,
Crispin's
improv that humanized doom, and edits that revealed politics. ID4 stuck, the White House laughed, books and comics kept fighting, and a meteorite headline made fiction feel possible. The movie sold unity as an action scene, and audiences bought it. Maybe that's the weirdest fact. Spectacle fades, but the urge to gather, cheer, and believe doesn't.